Hey everybody, it's Trevor here with the channel, and in today's video we're going to be doing an overview and some impressions on the rifle sling from TRex Arms. Let's take a look. Now before we actually get into it, this isn't going to be a video on how to set up and configure your sling. There's a great video for that on the TRex Arms website, and I'd check it out if you're looking at getting one of these. They do a great job explaining how to set your sling up for what you want and how it should fit. Instead, we're going to be doing an overview of the sling itself and how I'm running it on my rifle, and then we'll take a closer look at the sling compared to my old one and just point out some of the key features. Let's get started. Now this product from TRex Arms is a nylon rifle sling, and you see that I have it on my AR here in a 2-point sling configuration with a QD up front and then just wrapped around the buttstock down here, and of course we're cleared. Now again, these slings are primarily a nylon product and they'll be available in several different colors. I have mine in the great multicam black, of course, but they also offer original multicam, black, gray, ranger green, and coyote options on the website. And in general, this sling is pretty low profile and simple in its design. There's not a ton to it, but I kind of like that about it. It's got a thin main strip with a nice comfortable pad to go around your shoulder, a little pull strap that's common in most slings, and it basically just comes ready for your own QD or hook attachments that you prefer. Another thing to note is that the sling will come out of the box probably way too big for you. They give you plenty of room so that you're able to customize it to your own body type and your particular rifle. But it's pretty easy to cut it to length and burn the edges to get it set up just right for you. Again, check their website for a great video on how to get it tailored to you and your weapon. Now in addition to the sling in the box, you'll also get a pair of these shock cord bands or loops here that you can see on the side to help you stow the sling while not in use. And it's a great way to stage it too if you were to be keeping it in a bag or in a truck or even just by your bedside at night. I'm a big fan of this simple little feature, and we'll take a closer look at it here in a little bit. And in general, the first impressions I have of this sling are pretty great. It's super lightweight, it doesn't get in the way of anything. It has only the great features and options that you need, and it's very flexible in terms of its mounting options as well. I've enjoyed having it for the past couple months, and it's a pretty good change of pace from this giant sling that I had before that I did on my AR build video sometime in the past. This thing probably weighs 3 times as much, and there's just so much going on here. It's nice to switch to something lightweight and simple for a change, and that's exactly what the sling from TRex Arms here does. Now moving on to my setup, of course I do have it in a 2-point configuration, as you can see here. I have a QD swivel on one side of my AR, and I just have it looped around the buttstock on the other. The other noteworthy option about my particular setup is that I have the sling configured in the reverse throw option. The reverse throw is what the TRex Arms guys has labeled it as, and it makes sense when you think about it. Normally for your rifle slings, if you want to let the sling out to bring your weapon up, you pull the adjustment handle backwards, and that lets the sling out so you can come up to ready your weapon. And then when you're ready to stow, you push it forward. I have mine set up in reverse, so when you have the sling tightened up against your body and you're going to ready your weapon, you have to push the sling outwards like this to get it to release and loosen up. And then when you're ready to stow, you actually pull it back toward yourself. This is a little funky at first because I was used to the other setup from my old sling, and most of the other common slings on the market do have it in the traditional throw setting where you pull it back to let it go. This one's a little different and it feels a little funny to get used to, but I'm kind of a fan of it for one big reason, and that reason is just for efficiency's sake. So when you're going to pull your hand forward to let the sling out, it's also right up by the barrel for you to get your grip set. So you can pull it forward as you're bringing your gun up and your hand's already here instead of having to bring it back and then forward again for the traditional layout. It's a little harder to stow the sling to yourself, especially one-handed, but that quick, efficient movement there, I'm a real big fan of, and that's why I'm trying it in the reverse throw. I'd recommend giving it a try, and you can always switch back and forth between the normal and the reverse throw. You just have to take some of the buckles off and reverse the loops on the tri-glides. I've just been a big fan of the reverse throw so far, and it just feels a bit more natural to be able to have your hand already up there when you're going to shoulder your weapon from having the sling all the way up. But anyways, that's a quick overview of the sling itself and my particular setup for it. So now let's take a closer look at some of the details of the sling and also that cool stowing feature that I talked about with these little shock cord loops. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so here we are with a closer look at the TRex Arms rifle sling, and right off the bat we're going to get into the sort of stowage or staging feature with these shock cord bands that come with the Sling. And here you can see I have it set up in the stowed or staged arrangement. You basically clamp one end of it in with your little shock cord on one side and just kind of pull it tight to the rifle along the length of it. This just kind of keeps it out of the way if you have it stored upright or in a bag or something, so it's less likely to tangle on something. But it's by no means meant to like stay like this while you're running around. It's gonna, you know, slack around and slide around just a little bit, but it is super nice for keeping it kind of neat and out of the way, whether you're moving it or you have it by your bed or in a bag. And then when you need it, you just simply pull on the Sling and it'll come right out ready for you to use it. I'm a pretty big fan of this feature, and it's super easy and convenient to set up. The only thing you have to watch out for with these bands is basically where you put them. If you're putting them on the front of your rail, you do want it to be forward of your QD swivel so this doesn't get hung up on it or any of your Sling doesn't get bound up with this elastic band. If you move it all the way over here and it's on this side of it, it inhibits the movement a little bit with the shock cord and the QD rotation. It just defeats the point of the QD in general. So just move it forward to fit your Sling. On the other side is just a simple little clasp right here that you can use to tension the shock cord to your liking. And other than that, it's just a simple, effective piece. I usually rotate this around to the other side so it's not in the way of my hand. And for me, since I want to keep the band clear of all of these tri-glides, buckles, and other little plastic catches right here, I usually fold up about a 1/2 inch or 1 inch in front. Basically pull the Sling tight along the body of the rifle. Scoot this forward, and it clamps over the edge just like that. Just pull everything nice and tight. On the little clasp here, you can just pull this to however tight you want it. You could leave it right there. I usually rotate it to the other side, and it is stored just like this. It's a super simple feature, and it really does keep the Sling quite neat. My old one here, this big mess, didn't really have anything like that, and it always was dangling around, and there's all these little belts and straps everywhere. It was just kind of a mess to pack around and to keep anywhere, let alone grab in the middle of the night should you need it. So I'm a pretty big fan of just this simple little shock cord band. You just set it down, and right when you just pull it and it's ready to go. And also just a note, I tend to keep my Sling in the released position here, because once I pull this out like I would need it, I would want to immediately put it on and have the gun up. So you want it in the position that you'd be willing to do that with. Now when you get your Sling, it will come with 2 of these little elastic bands, so you could put one here, maybe around your buttstock if you were to be so inclined, but I just use it up there. But now onto the Sling itself, you can see of course I have it attached with a QD swivel up front, and then just wrapped around the buttstock loop here on the back. Now if we take a closer look at the Sling here, taking it off, of course QD up front, and then just wrapped around the back here. Double loop that to pull it off. Again, there's super great instructions on the website of TRex Arms for setting this up. There we have it off. And this is a look at the Sling itself. Now the main body of the Sling is of course going to be this main strapping here, which is about 1 inch wide nylon material that I have of course in multicam black. This is going to span the length of your Sling. It's what makes up the adjustable front portion, as well as the back that your various attachments are going to go onto. They come with tri-glides on one on each end, and then of course in the middle they have their padded wider section that's about 1.5 inches or so. This is the part that'll wrap around your kind of neck and shoulder area, and it really is comfortable. It's not, you know, as super wide as my old Sling here. It's about 2 inches versus 1.5 inches. But really this is all you need. It doesn't get in the way. It's a bit more lightweight, but it is still surprisingly comfortable with this little mesh padding that they have in here. Now again, when you get the Sling, it's basically going to look just like this with a tri-glide and then an open-ended strap. I have mine already cut and burned here to one size with just a hair extra in case I want to adjust the Sling a little bit more. But overall, it's pretty easy to get it to size and fit. On this side, you can see I have quite a bit of extra strap material still left on here. This is just because I'm playing with the height a little bit more on both ends of it. And just in case I end up wanting to make a bit more drastic change, I have the length to do that. After a little while, I'll probably get settled in and cut it real close just so it's not in the way. But for now, I left a little extra while I'm still switching things up and trying it around, be it the throw or the length, or even mounting points with an end plate back here at some point. Moving up to the front of the sling, you can see up here, there's an additional tri-glide for all of your sizing adjustments on this end. And then this is where the sliding adjustment attachment is. You can see it's just a simple buckle in there, pretty common on a bunch of slings on the market. And this is your little pull tab. Goes one way or the other. And it's kind of nice that this is somewhat flexible and foldable instead of being a rather thick material that you see on things like the Magpuls or any other sling on the market. This strap here is pretty thin, and the same can be said for the handle. So it doesn't bunch up and get in the way too bad, and it's also easy to fold and tuck out of the way should you need to. That's one of the big things I've noticed about the sling compared to some others, is it is pretty thin. I wouldn't say this is a cause for concern for durability, but it does save on weight, and it also is just a bit more flexible for folding the sling up when you need it and just keeping it out of the way in general. Now again, I did mention that I have this in the reverse throw, so this is the sling layout tightened to your body, and then you will pull the sling loop forward to increase the length as if you were going to ready the weapon. This is backwards from what it normally is, but I do like it because when it's stowed, you kind of keep your hand back beside you when you're grabbing your little pull tab, and then as you pull this forward to release the sling, it brings your hand right up to your grip on your weapon. It's a little strange at first, but again, I'm a big fan. But overall, looking at the sling, that's about it. It's fairly simple, and it's also quite minimalist. Some people might like more bells and whistles on here, but in my opinion, having less is almost certainly more on an object like this, especially when comparing it to my last sling. Now again, the other consideration in products like this is of course price. These slings, not on sale, will run you about $55 from TRex Arms. Maybe it's a tad bit expensive, but it's pretty on par with offerings from Magpul that are similar. I think Magpul's MS1 2-point sling is the most comparable to this, and it's probably a little cheaper at about, I don't know, $38, $40 depending on where you look. So this is a 10, 15 bucks more expensive than that. Now, of course, comparing it to this one, is it really fair? I'm not sure. This is only about $20 and it's not nearly as thoughtfully designed, but you do get what you pay for in terms of functionality and quality of materials. But overall, I've been a pretty big fan of this sling so far. It's super easy to set up and customize to your own weapon system. You just fit it with your proper attachments, adjust the length and ride height of your gun, if you will, with these straps, then you cut it and burn it to fit. And of course, you can just thread it through various slots in your stock, should you have them. Otherwise, you could use QD swivels, different clash hooks, anything like that. And there's even an adapter available to run this from a 2-point to 1-point sling conversion, should you be into that. And another important step to note when you are wrapping these tri-glides into place that they do highlight on the website is to bring it through and then push it back through the opposite end. Just like this, back over the top of the tri-glide, and this will really lock it into place so it won't unthread or back out on you when you're moving with this thing. And I'm all set. And again, that's our sling back on, and to stow, I bring it all the way out to the wide configuration, and I like to wrap the band about a ½ inch or an inch past this last buckle here so it doesn't get hung up on anything, especially your QD swivel. Then you just pull it tight around the back, like so, wrap it in forward, and just lay it flat on your rifle. Then you can just wiggle this strap back up, and then you just clamp it back around with the little shock cord up front. It's quick and easy, and it's a nice way of keeping the rifle and the sling neat and staged in case you were to need it. And it definitely helps with storage or keeping it in a backpack or something like that. It's super quick to just pull the sling out whenever you need to, and that's just another nifty feature that I can't harp on enough. Well, that looks like it's going to be it for the video today, guys, on my early impressions and an overview of the TRex Arms rifle sling that you can see here in glorious multicam black. It's a bit of a slimmer, lower profile, kind of bare bones options for a sling, but in the case of slings, in my opinion, less is usually more. It doesn't get in the way of anything, it's super lightweight, and it doesn't sacrifice any comfort on the shoulder. It has just the options you need and none that you don't. It's also super flexible to configure to your preferred mounting solutions. It's super easy to customize it to your particular body type and weapon system. And it also has a unique option to be able to re-thread the sling for the reverse throw option. As opposed to normal slings, this lets you bring your hand up and forward and naturally into your grip instead of having to bring your hand back and then back up front when you're letting your sling out. It's a little different up front, but it's definitely worth a try, and I've been a big fan of the configuration in my time running it. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like down below, and if you have any questions about the sling or my setup with it, feel free to leave them down in the comments below and we will get back to you. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel where every day is range day. Thank you for watching.